Hare Krishna everyone, and welcome back once again to our ongoing series on the glories of our most beloved Sri Vrindavan Dham. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pashtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nivishesha Shunyavadi Pastacha Deshatarine. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So we're continuing with our mini-series on stimulation for ecstatic love, and this will be part 116. For several months now, we have been discussing various aspects of Krishna's name, fame, attributes, etc. Basically, those things that act as a stimulus for ecstatic love. But starting today, I would like to move on to the various aspects of Srimati Radharani's name, fame, attributes, etc. that, of course, are also a stimulus for ecstatic love. Now, I was inspired to do this in part by coming across the following verses by one of our favorite heroes, Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati. It's found in his Radharasa Sudhanidhi, verses 26 and 68. He writes, "My thoughts rest in something that bears the name Radha, something that is the essence of beauty, the essence of nectar, the essence of happiness, the essence of mercy, the essence of charming and splendid forms, the essence of expert intelligence, the essence of playful, amorous pastimes, and the essence of the best of everything. A spiritual splendor that bears the name Radha, that is the most sweet, that showers a monsoon of glorious nectar, shines in the heart of a very fortunate person, a heart where Sri Radha stays." Wow. And so on this great adventure of discussing Srimati Radharani's glories, we'll begin with her lotus feet. As many of you know, this is very much in accordance with Srila Prabhupada's instructions in Srimad Bhagavatam 2.2.13. Therein he writes, guiding us, "The process of meditation should begin from the lotus feet of the Lord and progress up to his smiling face. The meditation should be concentrated upon the lotus feet, then the calves, then the thighs, and in this way higher and higher. The more the mind becomes fixed upon the different limbs of the Lord, one after another, the more the intelligence becomes purified. The more the intelligence becomes purified." Now the result, you could say the benefits of such meditation on the lotus feet of the Lord, or for that matter any of his expansions, is described in Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st canto, 6th chapter. There Narada Muni is explaining how he attained his transcendental body. He states, "After that, under the shadow of a banyan tree, in an uninhabited forest, I began to meditate upon the Supersoul, situated within, using my intelligence, as I had learned from liberated souls. As soon as I began to meditate upon the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, with my mind transformed in transcendental love, tears rolled down my eyes, and without delay the Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, appeared on the lotus of my heart. O Vyasadeva, at that time being exceedingly overpowered by feelings of happiness, every part of my body became separately enlivened. Being absorbed in an ocean of ecstasy, I could not see both myself and the Lord." Now Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in his composition Rupa Chintamani, he also lists the results and benefits of meditation on the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani. He writes, "I constantly worship Sri Radha, whose lotus feet have 19 symbols. These symbols are as follows." This is really interesting. On the left foot, an umbrella, a chakra, a flag, a creeper, a flower, a bangle, a lotus, an upward rising line on her foot, an elephant goad, a half moon, and a barleycorn. On the right foot of Vrindavaneshwari, Srimati Radharani, a Shakti weapon, a mace, the sign of a chariot, a yagya altar, an earring, a fish, a mountain, and a conch. Wow. Then he gives the benefits of meditating on each and every one of these symbols. In other words, if you go online, you'll see Radharani's feet, and various devotees have, painted these symbols on, or printed these symbols on her feet. So he gives the benefit of meditating just on these symbols on her lotus feet. So he writes, meditating on the symbol of the umbrella acts as a protection from the heat of the threefold miseries of this world. Meditating on the chakra destroys the enemies of the heart, such as lust, anger, greed, etc. Meditating on the flag, the symbol of the flag, gives victory in all aspects of spiritual life. Meditating on the creeper gives support to one's spiritual life. Meditating on the flower and lotus bestows auspiciousness. Meditating on the sign of the bangle bestows good fortune. Meditating on the upward rising line bestows upward progress in spiritual life. Meditating on the goad controls the mad elephant of the mind. Meditating on the half moon bestows all joy. And meditating on the barleycorn bestows all prosperity. Meditating on the Shakti weapon protects against the calamities in spiritual life. Meditating on the mace destroys obstacles. Meditating on the chariot gives unimpeded victory in all directions. Meditating on the yagya altar bestows completion of all Vedic duties. Meditating on the symbol of the earring makes one a devotee of the highest caliber. Meditating on the fish gives the ability to swim freely in the ocean of bhakti rasa. Meditating on the mountain, the symbol of the mountain, gives one stability and firmness in life. Meditating on the conch gives one victory. Wow. Vrindavaneshwari Srimati Radharani ki. Now our acharyas say that these symbols on Sri Radha's feet, along with Krishna's, because he also has symbols on his feet. We don't have time to go into that now. Actually, we just discussed those symbols on Krishna's feet, like the last year. But the symbols on both their feet form attractive patterns on the ground. That's how the acharyas describe it. As they're walking, form attractive patterns on the ground that allow their friends and associates to distinguish the divine couple's footprints from others, helping them to find Radha and Krishna wherever they are in Sri Vrindavan Dham. They'll go out to find them by seeing their footprints, with distinct signs. For example, I was reading in chapter 36 of the Krishna book, therein is described the gopis searching for Krishna in the Vrindavan forest after he had left the rasa dance. And Srila Prabhupada writes, they inquired about him from the trees and plants. In some places they found the imprints of the marks on the soles of his feet. Namely, well, here we go, the flag, the lotus flower, the trident, the thunderbolt, etc. After seeing these footprints, they exclaimed, oh, here is the impression of the marks on the soles of Krishna. All the marks, such as the flag, the lotus flower, the trident, and thunderbolt, are distinctly visible here. So they found Krishna. Thus, Prabhupada writes, they began to follow the footprints, because he left and they're trying to follow him. They followed the footprints, and shortly they saw another set of footprints beside them, and immediately they became very sorry. The gopis say, dear friends, just see, whose are these other footprints? They are beside the footprints of the son of Maharaj Nanda. It is certainly Krishna passing through, resting his hand on some other gopi, exactly as an elephant goes side by side with his beloved mate. We must therefore understand that this particular gopi served Krishna with greater affectionate love than ourselves. We're being introduced to Srimati Radharani as that special gopi who left Krishna with during the rasa dance. And of course that gopi is Radha, Sri Radha. Now, Radharani has another distinguishing feature on her feet besides those specific marks that we described. And what could that be? Because we see so much detail. What other specific mark is there on her feet? It's the red lac on both her feet. One time, I was reading, while in the forest of Kamyavan, Radharani was resting in a kunja, in a grove, when she noticed that this beautiful red lac on the soles of her feet had been worn away by dancing. So she called her gopi friends, and they came and they painted more red lac on her feet again. But then Radharani suddenly realized that she was late for a rendezvous with Krishna, so she jumped up, and on her way out of that kunja, she walked over some stones, with the wet red lac. And as a result, those stones turned reddish because of the red lac on her feet. And to this very day, those stones are still there. And they have a special name. They're called Chitra Vichitra Shilas. Chitra Vichitra Shilas. Chitra means painted, and Vichitra means with footmarks. And actually, pilgrims go to Kamyavan. Kamyavan's pretty far from, Vrindavan town. It takes about 2 hours to drive out there these days. So pilgrims actually go to Kamyavan simply to see and worship those Chitra Vichitra Shilas. And they're worshipable because the red lac on Radharani's feet is worshipable. Why are they worshipable? Because the red lac on Radharani's feet is worshipable, and that's what they're painted, because they're painted that particular. Well, she walked over them, they became that color. Now, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami prays in Vilap Kushmanjali, verse 14, so beautifully in reference to this particular fact of the red lac on her feet. He writes, famous verse, O Queen of Vrindavan, ever since Rupa Manjari has filled my eyes with light, I have yearned to see the red lac decorating your lotus feet. It's such a famous verse. We should just recite it again. O Queen of Vrindavan, ever since Rupa Manjari has filled my eyes with light, I've yearned to see the red lac decorating your lotus feet. And following in his footsteps, we also yearn one day to see and to serve her lotus feet. Then in Bhadarasa Sudhanidhi, we hear Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati take shelter of those lotus feet of Radharani. Another famous verse. He writes, O Supreme Goddess of the Vrindavan forest, your lotus feet are brimming full of flowing rasa extract, the essential honey of full-blown love nectar. Holding such feet to his chest, Madhupati, Krishna, the Lord of all sweetness, extinguishes the burning fever of Cupid. Supremely cooling, I now take shelter of them as well. Hare Krishna. So, our focus today has been on Srimati Radharani's lotus feet. But realistically, that meditation is done in our minds only. Why do I say that? Because Srimati Radharani's feet are rarely visible. She's often described as the most chaste of all women, and therefore she keeps her lotus feet hidden from view. Regarding her chastity, one of her qualities, regarding her chastity, I was reading in Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, chapter 31, Prabhupada writes, Arundhati, who is known as the most chaste lady in the universe, desires to learn the standard of chastity from who? Srimati Radharani. Since even Lord Krishna cannot estimate Radharani's highly transcendental qualities, it is not possible for an ordinary man to estimate them. As a result, we see that in all the temples in Vrindavan, as well as in all the ISKCON temples around the world, where we have deities of Radha and Krishna, the feet of the deities of Radharani are always covered by her skirt or by her sari, as it be. However, by her causeless mercy, traditionally, once a year, on the day of Gopastami, Gopastami is the day when Krishna takes charge of the cows, Radharani is dressed as a cowherd boy, and her lotus feet are shown in the temples. Actually, it's based on a wonderful pastime that I think I'll share today. Let us say it was big news in Vrindavan 5,000 years ago when Krishna became old enough to start taking care of the cows and the calves, Gopastami. As he and his cowherd boyfriends took the cows from their Goshala to the pasturing grounds, for the first time, there was a huge festival. And all the happy residents of Vrindavan assembled and waved goodbye, of course with tears in their eyes, because Krishna's going away and they can't stand to be separated from him for even a moment. They waved goodbye to Krishna and Balaram as they left. They were happy to see Krishna happy. But who was the most happy? The cows. They have their rasa with Krishna. And they finally got to be with him all day long. You think about it. They get the most time with Krishna. They don't have to hide it and do it in secret. They're with him all day long. In fact, they were so happy, it's described that milk was flowing freely from the bags of the mother cows. It's described just like rain. You just, in your mind's eye, you close your eyes and you just think of a downpour of rain. That's how much milk there was falling on the ground. And as such, there were many puddles of milk puddles, milk puddles. And on that day, Srimati Radharani and her gopi friends, they were walking as they do from village to village, selling their milk products. And as they approached that particular scene of Krishna and the cows, they saw the ground was full of milk puddles everywhere. Milk puddles everywhere. As a result, they were obliged to pick up their skirts, lift their skirts just a little, so that they didn't get wet. And in doing so, Sri Radha and her friends slightly revealed their lotus feet. So further on, towards the afternoon, in the pasturing grounds, Krishna suddenly started crying. And Subal, one of his dearmost friends, asked, "Krishna, why are you crying?" Krishna replied, "Because I miss my Radha. I miss my Radha." So Subal thought for a minute and said, "I have a plan." And he immediately started off for Yavat, where Radharani lives with her in-laws, including her so-called husband, Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu is actually described as the shadow of Krishna. Now, we have to mention here that Subal is actually Radharani's brother. And he looks very much like her. Very much like her. So when he arrived at Yavat, at the home of Srimati Radharani, he knocked on the door of the palace, and who answered the door? Jatila. Jatila is Radharani's mother-in-law. And as we've discussed many times, she's always an obstacle to Radha and Krishna's meetings. She's always suspicious that something's going on. And so she said, "Subal, what are you doing here?" And crying, Subal said, "I lost one of my calves. I'm looking for him everywhere. I just can't find him. Is he here somewhere?" So Jatila said, "I don't know. Maybe he wandered in this area, so you can look around." So after Jatila went back to her housework, Subal immediately went straight to Radharani's quarters. and somehow he was able to slip inside. And surprised to see her brother, Radharani said, Subal, what are you doing here? So Subal passed the message to Radharani that Krishna was missing her more than his own life and would like to see her. So Radharani said, yes, I'm thinking of Krishna all day. Subal, can you help us meet? So Subal smiled and said, yes, Radhika, I have a plan. That plan is you put on my cowherd clothes and walk calmly out the door to the fields where Krishna is, because they look so similar. It's as simple as that. Because we look so similar, Jatila will be fooled that I'll put on your dress and I'll stay here in this room all day long. So they exchange clothes, and Radharani, in the clothes of Subal, walks out. And immediately she meets Jatila and says, Jatila, through the window I saw my calf is just outside, so I will take him now and be on my way. In Subal's voice. So Jatila said, all right, young man, go quickly. So meanwhile, Subal, in the dress of Radharani, sat in the room and just waited. Now, writing about this pastime, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, he says, Subal Nyasta Sarupya. Subal Nyasta Sarupya. That Radhika had invested her own form in Subal. So he's sitting there. No one questions. So when Radharani, dressed as Subal, got to where the cowherd boys were, she decided to test Krishna. What? She decided to test Krishna. So approaching him, she said, in the voice of Subal, my dear Krishna, I didn't manage to bring Radha back to you. I'm so sorry. But don't worry. I met Chandravali on the way, and she said she'd be happy to meet you today. Now remember, Chandravali is Radharani's chief competitor. But fortunately, Krishna passed the test when he said, Subal, I will never go to see Chandravali. I just want my Radha. So at that point, Radharani took off her cowherd boy's turban, and she said, my beloved Krishna, here I am. And then they embraced and spent the afternoon and evening together. And the real Subal, still dressed as Radharani back at Yavat, had to wait till the evening to come back with the cowherd boys. So in honor of this nectarian pastime, on Gopastami, in all the Radha Krishna temples in the world, pujaris dress Sri Radha like a cowherd boy with a turban and slightly uncover her lotus feet on that one day for all of us to see and worship. This is her special mercy. Hare Krishna. So let us finish today with some selected verses, once again from Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati, this time from his Vrindavan Mahimamrita, beginning with Sataka 9. Sataka, that's how he describes chapters. Beginning with Sataka 9, we'll begin with text 24. He writes, may I pass the moments of my life in the land of Vrindavan, always meditating on the beauty of Sri Radha's lotus feet, which are decorated with sweetly tinkling jeweled ankle bells. And he goes on, I pray that Sri Radha's lotus feet, which are decorated with sweetly tinkling ankle bells and are filled with limitless beauty, delicate softness, sweet fragrance, a flood of transcendental splendor, and a host of other transcendental virtues may one day appear before me. Then he writes, may my mind chant the glories of Sri Radha's beautiful lotus feet, which are golden above their reddish soles, and which steal away the heart of Lord Hari with their sweet transcendental splendor. And finally, it's verse 930. It's a beautiful way to finish today. He makes fun of the flute of Krishna. He writes, everyone please meditate on Krishna's flute, which is now completely silenced by the tinkling jewel ankle bells on Radha's feet. All its hissing is now useless. Now it is simply an object of laughter for all of Sri Radha's friends. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So yes, we're beginning all the different attributes of Srimati Radharani, beginning with her feet, and we have, I think, a few more classes just on her feet, and things related to her feet, like her ankle bells, etc. So I'll see you next Friday, hopefully. Shri Shri Gauranitai ki, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki, Shri Shri Radharani Sundar ki, Vrindavaneshwari Srimati Radharani ki, Mayapur Dham ki, Gauranitai ki, Shri Krishna Sankirtan Yajna ki, Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Jai Jai Sri Sri Radhe